afternoon. But hello to everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this candidates forum. This is such an important event for all of us. I do want to thank the NAACP and also the Faith and Justice Commission for putting this candidate forum on. I think it's very important for everyone to know this is a nonpartisan event. We are not endorsing anyone. This is an opportunity for everyone here to get more education about what's going on and have an informed vote. My name is Nada Ruddick, and I'm a member of the NAACP, and we're so glad that you're here today. I believe in making things move along because we're running a little bit late, and I want us to catch up. We don't want to keep you too long. So if James Berliner would please come forward. He is a member of our host church, Carter Metropolitan CME Church, and he is going to give us our invocation.
Good evening, everyone. As you bow your head, please. Precious Father in heaven, we come to you this evening with an attitude of gratitude. We want to thank you for waking us up this morning and bringing us to this place, Heavenly Father. We ask that you bless this forum, bless the candidates and all the community that are in attendance. We love you, Lord. We give you praise, honor, and glory. In your son's name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Berliner. I want to thank all of the candidates for being here. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us and to introduce yourselves. When you come up, please introduce yourselves. No, I'm so sorry. Each candidate will be introduced by the moderator because the moderators have the orders today. Forgive me. You'll have a certain amount of minutes, and your moderators will also let you know how much time you have to share your information regarding yourself and to share your plan of action if you're elected. Questions to the audience. If you have any questions, please hold them until after all of the candidates have finished. I want now to just introduce you to the moderators who will hold the actual candidate forum. We have Dr. Valencia Edner. She is with Carter Metropolitan Methodist CME Church, and she is also a member of the NAACP, Fort Worth, Tarrant County NAACP. We also have Reverend Ryon Price, and Reverend Price is the pastor of Broadway Baptist Church, and he's also with Faith and Justice Commission, the other host of this wonderful candidate forum. Ready? All right, they'll take it over from here.
Good evening. Please excuse our seats. We'll be sitting here while they are speaking. But we want to, first of all, I'd like to welcome you to Carter Metropolitan Christian Methodist Episcopal Church. We are grateful for each person who is a part of the volunteer team who is a part of Carter. And so we thank them for being here, thank them for their service on this evening. And now we will begin to, after Reverend Price introduces himself, then we will begin to call candidates as you have arrived.
Thank you, Dr. Edner. Again, my name is Ryon Price. I'm the senior pastor of Broadway Baptist Church here in Fort Worth in the near south side of our city. And it is, of course, an honor to be with Dr. Edner and also to be with you here at Carter Metropolitan. We are grateful for our partnership, burgeoning friendship, and sense of shared interest in the well-being of our community. So it is an honor for us to be here, and we thank the NAACP for its co-hosting of this event, along with then also the congregation as well.
We would like our candidates to know that given our number right now, you have 5 minutes to, which is quite a bit of time under normal circumstances. But we want the community to clearly understand who you are and what it is you represent and what it is that you intend to do if you are elected to make a difference in this community and in the lives that each of the persons here are living here in Tarrant County. And so we will begin with the first person who came tonight, and while she's not primaried, we do want her to come tonight and to speak to us this afternoon. Her name is Perla Bajorka. Bajorkis. I did not want to butcher it, so thank you so much. Will you welcome her?
Thank you guys. Thank you for hosting. Thank you for inviting us, and thank you for sharing your space so the candidates can introduce ourselves and our ideas, and so you guys know who you're voting for. And I want you guys to get excited for who's on the ballot so everybody shows up to vote this year. My name is Perla Bajorkis. I am running for state representative in North Fort Worth. It is House District 93. I am a former paralegal and educator. I'm a baseball mom, a part of the PTA. I'm a part of every community that I've been in, and I've been resourceful and helpful in every place that I've been. As a paralegal, I have hands-on experience in laws including immigration, housing, banking, civil law, criminal. As an educator myself, obviously I know the history of education, and in the state of Texas, one of my priorities is going to be to get that money to our educators in our schools. We had a $33 billion surplus, and zero of that surplus went to our public education. That's a problem. All of our schools are either firing teachers right now, firing different staff, cutting programs. Other schools are just getting tighter. They're assuring that they're not gonna let teachers go, but programs, instruction, technology, everything is feeling the crunch right now because we didn't get those funds from the state. So that is my number one priority, is to get that money and that fund into public education, because healthy public schools are vital to healthy communities. Another one of my priorities is the border security. I am for a safe and secure border. That's a national interest for everybody. We want to feel safe where we live. We want to feel safe in our communities. Right now, we spend $2.5 million per week of taxpayer money on Operation Lone Star. And what are they doing with that tax money that we pay in there? They're busing them to Colorado, to New York, so they can freeze and die in the streets. What we can do instead is fund the USCIS and get more immigration judges to process those asylum cases and give them a decision quicker, instead of them having to wait months in the states to see if they're gonna be able to be allowed, and much less be just shipped off to some state. They need to stay there, and we need that money to the USCIS. And we need to fund our agencies. So the Border Patrol, that is their number one priority, is to keep us safe and to keep those weapons and criminals out of the country. We need to support our Customs and Border Control. Another one of my priorities is healthcare. Bodily autonomy is so important. It doesn't matter if you're male, female, you need to have that power to make those decisions that are gonna save your life. It should be you, your God, and your physician that are making these life decisions for your health. So a little bit less of that government overreach would be fantastic. So that's also one of my priorities. In my community, we are all fighting that extremists, that far right. My opponent has pushed for banning books, for anti-LGBTQ+ community bills, anti-immigration. He was concerned about Colony Ridge in Houston, while we have food insecurity in our neighborhoods. I've seen lines of vehicles at Community Link every single day of families that need food on the table. And we live in beautiful communities up in North Fort Worth. If you think of Keller, they initially had, that reputation of this is such a good area in the districts, and all of these families are struggling with food insecurities. That is more of a priority, instead of like my opponent worrying about Colony Ridge near Houston, Texas, that has nothing to do with House District 93. So I'm here to bring my experience, again, as a former paralegal, as a former educator, as a member of this community who loves our beautiful communities. Our families are so diverse and they all deserve respect. So education, healthcare, border security, all of the things. Again, my name is Perla Bajorkis, and I'm running for state representative in House District 93. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our next candidate is India Murray, who is running for Tarrant County Sheriff. And again, you will have 5 minutes, and I will keep the time. He will keep the time. That's even better. They don't let the Baptist preacher keep the time, so.
Hello everyone, I'm India Murray. I am running for Tarrant County Sheriff. I am a mother, a community leader, and a public servant. I currently serve as a police officer in Kennedale Police Department, and I've been working in law enforcement for about 8 years. Prior to that, I worked with Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. I've worked with Texas families, protecting families and children. Prior to that, I've worked with at-risk youth in New Jersey and in Pennsylvania. I am currently a doctoral candidate in business administration with a specialty in human resource management. I currently do community engagement, and that's my primary role. Community engagement is the backbone to patrol operations and how we problem solve and improve upon quality of life. I am running because people's lives are at stake within the Sheriff's Department. Those who are in jail, there has been over 60 in custody deaths. They have an issue with overpopulation. Individuals with mental health illnesses are in the jails versus being in a diversion program to receive treatment and care that they need. They're also struggling with low morale, understaffed, high turnover. All of these things are primary issues as to why where they have poor conditions within the jails. So my plan is to interrupt the culture, prioritize transparency as they have an issue of covering things up and secrecy. People are taking justice in their own hands, and we need to ensure that we're eliminating the misconduct that are happening and ensuring that public safety is priority for those that we take care, custody, and control of. I plan to also implement accountability measures and to ensure that those who do take matters into their own hands, that they actually are held accountable for it. Like, they shouldn't be getting, cases shouldn't get dismissed if they're evidence that they're mistreating and mishandling individuals. My plan is to ensure that we are able to hire competent individuals to come into the jails. My plan is to also have a culture, create a culture where it's positive, but also it allows for there to be, allows for promoting the development of those who are already there to improve upon retainment, those who have tenure and are doing well and should be there and care for people in vulnerable positions in the jails. They should, I want to be able to provide that training and career development so that they want to stay there and be able to coach and guide those who are coming down the pipelines, incoming, and that will attract new people to want to be in an organization that is thriving. My plan is to ensure that proper health care is provided. Their irresponsibility in providing $40 million to private prisons, and that money should have been used for those who actually need it, that came from the Corona relief funds, and that should be reallocated to healthcare to prioritize for mental health illnesses, as well as in the jails, as well as the housing and homeless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next candidate is Roderick Miles. Tarrant County Commissioner, Precinct 1.
Good evening, everyone. It is a treat to be with you today, this evening. Again, my name is Roderick Miles, and I am running for Tarrant County Commissioner, Precinct 1. Why am I running? I'm running because my roots are deep in Precinct 1. I was born here in Highland Hills, raised just down the street in Forest Hill, and my wife and I are currently raising our 2 daughters in Southwest Fort Worth. My roots predate a time when my grandparents owned Miles Grocery Store, where the NAACP branch office is located. That used to be my grandparents' grocery store, serving the residents of Precinct 1 of Tarrant County. And then I'm reminded of my grandmother spending time at her house in Stop 6 on Edgewood Terrace. And neighbors would come in and out the house all the time, and I would be thinking to myself, Granny, why are all these strange people coming in the house? Not realizing that my grandmother was providing notary services to the residents in the community. She was the first African-American female to become a notary in Fort Worth, Texas. Think about my Aunt Earlene riding with her with my brother as we would campaign for other black elected officials in Fort Worth, ensuring that their voices were heard, and we were mobilizing people to go to the ballot to vote. She was instrumental in getting several African Americans elected to public service, elected office. Then I think about the time I spent with my father as he pastored Campus Drive United Methodist Church just down the road, serving the people of Precinct 1. And I think about my mother advocating as a state employee working with the MHMR population, advocating for them, making sure that they were getting proper care in the facilities where individuals were living. Serving. Service, my friends, is a Miles family value. That's all I've seen. It's what I was raised on. It's who I am. A servant. I've had the great fortune of serving my community, our community, for the last 10 years with Commissioner Brooks as his executive administrator. Talking with you, meeting with you, addressing your concerns, fixing the issues that needed to be fixed, being present when trouble happens, making sure that I'm available to answer your questions and to get you the results that you need. My platform is real simple. I have 4 priorities. We want to ensure the expansion of JPS Hospital because every resident deserves quality, affordable health care. They should not be on the outside looking in just because they don't have the money to get the care that they need. JPS is a lifeline to many in our community. And we were fortunate enough, the residents passed a bond to expand our health care services. And I want to ensure that those services, that we get everything that that bond allotted for, to make sure that we're expanding those services. Infrastructure. Capital infrastructure and human infrastructure. You can't have one successfully without the other. Human infrastructure. I want to make sure that we are expanding our mental health care services. The county jail should not be the #1 service provider of mental health services. We need to make sure that we have those services readily available to meet the demands of our community. Thirdly, criminal justice reform. We need to address the overcrowding in our jails and the deaths happening in our jail. We had 60, but we've graduated from 60 to 61 on Valentine's Day. We had another person die in the jail. And then responsible tax relief, relieving the tax burden on the residents. My name is Roderick Miles, and I am looking for your vote for Tarrant County Commissioner, Precinct 1. Thank you for your time.
Just before Reverend Price calls the next person, please note that you have index cards and your questions should be written there so that they can be fielded. So as you hear something, you might want to write that down so that you don't forget what you may have had a question about, so that you can either address a candidate or an issue that the candidates can field. Thank you so much.
The next candidate is Cindy Stormer, candidate for District Judge.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Ryan, and thank you for hosting this, and thank you all for taking time out of your busy lives to be here to see what's going on in the county and who the best candidates are. I am Cindy Stormer. I am your Democratic nominee for District Judge, and there are over 60 reasons why I am running for judge. We've had over 60 deaths in the jail under the current administration, unnecessary deaths, including a baby, Zenora. Say her name, Zenora. 5 months, her mother was arrested, and she had not even committed an offense. She was kept in jail 5 months without a court date. She was innocent. She was beating on the walls when she went into labor. She was ignored. They refused to transport her to the hospital. The baby was born, Zenora was born in the jail. Zenora died. That's just one example. Go to my Facebook page and see the 34-page document that the local law school prepared. At that time, it was 54 suspicious and neglectful deaths. There are several of these. A man handcuffed and pepper sprayed to death. They tell us he died of sickle cell disease, Robert Miller. A woman dying of dehydration in the jail. A woman also innocent, kept in the jail for 10 days without her seizure medication, and she was seizing for that 10 days. We paid $1 million for a man who died in our jail. We paid it in September. His dead body laid there for 6 hours before he was even noticed. They have to check on them every 30 minutes by law. Why is this happening? Because our jails are overcrowded. And you'll be hearing from your sheriff's candidates why that's happening. But it's also happening because our judges are not showing up for work. Lon Burnham, who's a state representative here, just presented to Commissioner's Court a few weeks ago that he showed up for jury duty, and he, along with 200 other Tarrant County citizens, were told, go home, you don't need to be here. We've got 30 judges that aren't holding court today. And same thing happened to Patrick Moses just a couple of weeks ago, and the same thing has happened to me in the past years. Anybody else that happened to you show up and they say, we're not holding court today here in Tarrant County? I've been an elected district attorney where I brought the crime rate down 25% while cutting the jail population in half and stopping the procedure of sending people to out-of-county for-profit prisons. That is always a mistake. It always ends in multi-million-dollar lawsuits. Because what do they do for profit? They try to cut corners. And where do they cut? Medication. And what happens then? People die. And what happens then? We pay millions in lawsuits again. They're letting people out of jail that are murderers on bond, walking around in our community for 5 years, making us less safe. And at the same time, they're arresting people for Class C misdemeanors and putting them in jail. It is illegal to arrest somebody and put them in jail on a Class C misdemeanor. That's equivalent to a speeding ticket. We have 80 people at any given time on a $500 bond or less. They can't make bond. They stayed in jail over 2,000 days. We had a man that was on a $25 bond. His crime, not moving for a street sweeper when it came by. He stayed in jail 90 days. That cost you as the taxpayers $20,000. We're not talking about how it's torturing these individuals to treat them like this. 329 incompetent in the jail last year, staying an average of 282 days, when the crime that they committed, they should have stayed an average of 8 days. It's costing millions because of the incompetence that's going on here. First thing I would do as your judge, appoint a competency public defender to my court to stay on top of those cases. One person in the system, at least one person, that has the authority and the responsibility to get people out of the jail when they're not supposed to be there. I'm Cindy Stormer, and we're going to storm the ballot box the way they stormed the Capitol.
Next candidate for sheriff, Patrick Moses.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, President Williams. Thank you, Pastor Edner. Thank you, Pastor Price. Thank you to all of you, my sisters and brothers in this struggle. We come to this occasion at this NAACP candidate forum, and my mind goes back to a book by the founder of the NAACP, one of the founders, the late Dr. W.B. Du Bois. In that book, The Souls of Black Folk, Dr. Du Bois raises a profound question. And that question is, how does it feel to be a problem? I rise before you today, a product of a problem. When my mother gave birth to me at the age of 34, because of Jim Crow discrimination in Louisiana, my mother could not vote. My mother was not 16, she was not 17, she was a 34-year-old grown woman. Here's the problem in Tarrant County. We have a sheriff by the name of Bill Waver, who's in the pocket of white supremacy, chasing the conspiracy-inspired theory of voter fraud. And there is no voter fraud in Tarrant County. We have a problem. So when I was asked, because I believe in justice, in fact, you want to know where I learned about justice? I learned about justice in this sanctuary at Carter Metropolitan Baptist CME Church, when we were going through a process with Bright Divinity Black Church Studies program. And we wrestled with that question in Micah chapter 6, verse 8. O mortal, what is good? And what does the Lord require of me? But to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with your God. Zenora, as we heard, died. I got in this race because Zenora needs justice. Zenora's mother, Chastity, experiencing a mental health crisis. Her mother called the police. Instead of taking her to a mental health facility, we took her. We, police officers work for you. We took her to the Tarrant County Jail. Chastity went in labor, banged on the wall. The judge in waiting told you the jailers neglected to do their job. Our sheriff, more concerned about voter fraud and less concerned about doing the constitutional job of the sheriff, and that is serving as a leader. The sheriff's office is not a partisan position. That is a job of leadership. I'm Patrick Moses. I served as a leader with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, provided for over 31 years, served in a significant leadership role, and that job is required of a sheriff to be a leader to protect the people of Tarrant County, not kowtow behind Donald Trump or any other right-wing racist.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. The next candidate is from District 9, the candidate for District 97, William Thorburn.
Good evening, and I'm going to hold it against you, Pastor Ryon, since you're a Baptist and I'm a Methodist, that you made me go after Patrick Moses. So thanks a lot. So this should be graded on the curve here. All right, my name is William Thorburn, and I'm running for Texas House District 97. I am a Baylor graduate from 1990. I earned my CPA license in 1990, went to work for Ernst & Young in the early 90s, and then worked in small business until 2000. And then I had an epiphany, and I decided I didn't like the way my life was going, and I wanted to do something different with it. And so a lot of people ask me, why am I running? It's the same reason why I became a teacher in year 2000. It's service. Okay, I'm going down to Austin to serve. I'm going down to Austin because what my John Wesley Methodism told me was we wash feet. We wash feet. We humble ourselves to wash feet. Okay? In my teaching career over the last 20 years, I have taught at Arlington Martin High School and also Arlington Sam Houston High School. Every kid that comes through my doorway, I want to make better. They come in August, and when they leave in May, I want to make them better people. And that's why I do what I do as a teacher. Okay, when Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, for to such belong the kingdom of God," he did not say all the little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids. He said every child. And that's what I've got on my window. When you come into my classroom, it's a safe space for every kid. So I'm here to stand up for public schools. I'm here to vote down any voucher nonsense. I'm here to increase the basic allotment for kids from $61.60, where it has been since 2019, to $71.60, and tie it to inflation so we don't have to come back every 5 years and review this nonsense. Our public school kids deserve better. I'm here to, instead of spend $10 billion on razor wire in a river so they can do commercials, I'm here to spend $10 billion on your kids' early childhood development so that when they get to 3rd grade, they're reading on level, which will set them up for success. I started Fish for Life Foundation, a charitable endeavor where I give scholarships to kids who work hard and behave well and want to go to college. I started that in 2007, not this year, 17 years ago. Started that 17 years ago. We've sent kids to TCC right around here. We've sent kids to UTA. I've sent kids to Baylor. I've sent kids to TCU. We've sent kids to Texas Southern. We've sent kids all the way. We've got one right now at Florida A&M. Sent Florida Gators. One at Spelman in Atlanta. Look it up on Facebook. Fish for Life Foundation. You can see what I've been doing for the last 17 years trying to help kids. The other thing I want to talk about is health care. We've already talked about reproductive freedom for women. Okay, for 50 years, women in the state of Texas could go to a doctor without some politician telling them what to do with their bodies. And that's exactly what I want to restore when I get down to Austin. Also, since 2009, Texas had the ability to expand Medicaid after President Obama passed the Affordable Care Act. Texas is one of 10 states that has not done that. 10 states. And we all know why. We all know why they have not expanded Medicaid. And they're losing dollars that the federal government would put back into our state so that we could have affordable health care. Instead, they just want to stick by their guns and poke people in the face instead of helping citizens of District 97 and helping citizens of Texas. And finally, I know everybody wants good businesses in the state of Texas. I also want to help provide that. But we got to have clean water. We got to have the ability to get around without traffic, and we got to fix that electric grid to make sure we are cool in the summer and warm in the winter. I am William Thorburn. I'm running for Texas House District number 97. Thank you.
Please don't forget the note cards and your questions. Running for Tarrant County Criminal District Court number 2 Marquita or I know it last Marquetta, Clayton. Okay, Marquita Clayton.
Good evening, everybody. So I am Marquita. I do go by Mark for that very reason, because I get Ida, Guida, Garita. Surprisingly, there's no G in my name. And I am running for Criminal District Court 2. That is one of our 11 felony courts here in the county. We have a total of 21 criminal courts in this county, and believe it or not, there's one African American serving in all of those 21 courts, and he's retiring at the end of this year. And so I put my crazy hat back on and jumped back into the race so soon because I couldn't just idly stand by. I am a practicing criminal defense attorney in private practice. I do practice primarily here in Tarrant County, so I'm downtown in those courts every day. I'm a former prosecutor. I prosecuted cases down in Hood County, Granbury, Texas, prior to opening my own practice. I've also done family law. I think it's important that we have a judge on the bench who has a variety of experience. It takes different skill sets to litigate cases in each of those areas. And we want a judge who's able to have an open mind when they take the bench, so that both sides has a fair shake in trials, in sentencing, in plea deals, and resources and opportunities that are available. Oftentimes, and right here in Tarrant County, majority of those judges down there pack their box up from the 4th floor in the prosecution office and walk right up to a bench. And all they've done all their life is prosecute cases. And so when you see cases on TV, or if you sit in the courtroom and have an opportunity and you say, man, that judge sure is biased towards the state, man, I can't believe they're acting that way. Well, you have to think, these judges have only prosecuted cases. So you wanted a judge who has had the ability and the opportunity to do both, so that you will know that that judge is able to have an open mind, be fair and unbiased, which is our main goal. I'm running also to ensure that bond conditions is a big issue that I face downtown. Oftentimes, folks, when they come through the courts, bonds are set, conditions are in place simply based on the nature of the charge alone, not necessarily taking into account the present circumstances surrounding the case, what that individual actually needs. And so I am ensuring that I will be a judge that's not just signing papers, but that I am actually taking a look at the individual before me and the circumstances surrounding the case that is in front of me. I also want to help with the overcrowding issue. We're gonna have to beat it to death until it's ingrained in everyone's head how important this issue is. Tarrant County has 4 jail facilities, 4, and they're all full. And we've spent $40 million sending more of our inmates to Garza County, which is 3.5 hours away. It's a private facility, and we know what happens when we're shipping millions of dollars to private facilities. We're padding the pockets of individuals who invested in that facility in order for their pockets to be padded. Thankfully, the Commissioner's Court is working aggressively to get our inmates back here to Tarrant County, but the problem starts in the court with inefficient dockets. There should be no reason why an individual is waiting 4 years to have their case resolved. And we can't blame COVID for the rest of our lives. So, I have a plan. Prior to being an attorney, I worked in corporate America, where if you've ever been in corporate America, you know about project plans. So I have plans and goals that I would aspire to have cases run through felony court within 2 years of their filing. It's not an overnight process, but that's a goal, and that's something I know that I can achieve. I'm Mark Clayton. I'm running for Tarrant County Criminal District Court 2, and I need every single person in here, because all the candidates here are great, but the only way we win in Tarrant County is if you go home and share these names and the information. Do not keep this to yourself. We have to bring people to the polls in order to make the changes that we desire to see. So I'm begging everybody in here to not keep this information to yourself. Bring and hold your network accountable for voting in Tarrant County and bring about the change that we not only need, but we want. Thank you.
Okay, our next candidate is Laura Lehman, who is running for County Commissioner, Precinct 3, I believe.
Yes, my name is Laura Lehman. I am running for Tarrant County Commissioner Precinct 3. I am practicing being a candidate, so please be gentle. I am delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. I am so excited to be among these amazing candidates that we have before us today. I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Colleyville. Do not blame me, please. I am a small business owner. And like you, I'm also a parent and a concerned citizen. I'm also concerned about democracy hanging by a thread, as we all know. And I'm also concerned about the money that's been leaving our county and going outside and going to organizations that do not actually serve those who need it the most. Three of my top concerns are infrastructure, healthcare, and transportation. I care about these issues personally because of my son Victor, who is disabled, medically complex, who required a lot of care, and all of these would encompass things that would have directly impacted his life. I have always advocated for people who are disabled, and I will keep that to my heart always. It's because of my son that I have become politically active. I have been a precinct chair. I've helped other candidates in their races, both at the city and school board levels. And if you aren't familiar with Grapevine-Colleyville School District, you can listen to a podcast called Grapevine, and also another one called South Lake. Both will educate you on what is going on with extremism in our school boards. Mansfield, Keller, South Lake, and Grapevine-Colleyville were all purchased by a group called Patriot Mobile. I'm very aware of Patriot Mobile, and I think one of the reasons that not enough people came up to run for this seat is perhaps they weren't as bold as I am, because I know going head-to-head with this particular group is going to take a lot of work. As someone who has lived in chaos for 18 years and in fight and flight mode, I have a very thick skin. So I am prepared to go up against my opponent. And one of the things that I did to explore running for this seat was attend the Commissioner's Court. Where else to start, right? But understanding what is going on. And the day that I ended up going to Commissioner's Court was when the organization Girls.Inc. tried to get more funding. I sat in the back of the room having no idea, I hadn't had a chance to even look at the agenda. And I was appalled to learn that this organized group, the same people that came to our school boards, said disgusting things that were completely untrue, were now coming into the Commissioner's Court and taking over funding. They succeeded. They had a large group of people come in, and they all, very well organized, spoke against Girls.Inc. I was appalled. I sat in the back of the room and I literally went, was I supposed to be here today? It fueled my flame to start to run for this particular seat. Like I advocated for 18 years for my son Victor, I will advocate for you and all of Tarrant County residents. When I win over voters in Precinct 3, I will right the wrong that's been going on in the County Commissioner's Court, because a vote for me will flip Tarrant County and get this county back on track to keeping our dollars in Tarrant County and reallocating ARPA funds, which were intended to go toward things like helping the homeless, the hospitals, and other child care and other concerns. So thank you. Follow me at laura4tarrant.org. Appreciate it.
If you have an index card and you have a question, if you will raise it up, someone will get it walk down here to bring it. So should you have a question, lift up your card and someone will pick it up. Thank you. State Representative, House District 97, Carlos Walker.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for this opportunity to be here to speak before you. She stated, my name is Carlos Walker, and I'm running for House District 97. Just a little bit about me. I grew up here in Fort Worth. I grew up on the south side of Fort Worth, where I lived the majority of my life. After graduating from high school, I went to the Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, where I served in the Navy. And after that, I spent some time in San Diego in the Navy, and I couldn't wait to get back home to be an educator. I knew in high school that I wanted to be an educator. My principal was Walter Dansby, and when I came back to Fort Worth, he was actually an administrator in central office. And so I spoke with him and said, I'm back, I'm ready to serve. And so I became a substitute teacher at that time at Morningside Middle School, where I also attended school. And then from there, the following year, I became a teacher and coach at Pascal High School, where I served for 4 years as well. From there, I had the opportunity to return to O.D. Watt High School as an assistant principal, where I also graduated from. From there, I returned to Morningside Middle School as a principal, where I also went to middle school. From there, I went to Dunbar High School as the principal. Yes, give it up for Dunbar. Dunbar High School, where I served as the principal as well. During my time in education, I've had the opportunity to create a program, several programs, but starting with the Morningside Children's Partnership, where we actually focused on basically the residents of the South Side. We focused on our early childhood component because we had to provide some wraparound services because our kids were coming in and they were not on grade level. And so with that being said, we knew that at that particular time, we had to start as early as possible because we know that the families are the first teachers. So if we can get the kids on track as early as possible, that's going to help them by the time they get into school. So with that being said, fast forward to my current position as the director of the Family Action Center. Once we started just to back up a little bit, after leaving the principal seat, I became the director of the Historic Stop 6 initiative. And from there, that morphed into the Family Action Center several years later. And so now what we do is we provide wraparound services for our families. So what are wraparound services? Wraparound services are where we focus on the entire family. Like I said initially, the kids, their parents are the first teachers. So as an educator, we got to make sure that we educate and be working with the whole family, making sure that that family is successful and they have their basic needs met. So that's what I do now. That's why education is near and dear to my heart. I'm very proud to say that when I was the principal of Dunbar High School, we moved that school from low performing to meeting standard with 2 distinctions in a 3-year period. And so I'm very proud of that. I'm also very proud of being able to create the position that I'm in now. We started that as far as, like I said, when I was the principal at Morningside, okay. We started basically the partnership. So I said enough about education so you know that that's where my heart is. Also, I'm a farmer. I own 60 acres. And Texas ranks #2 when it comes to food insecurities nationally. And so that is a major concern for me. We have a food distribution that I currently run. And when I tell you we started this before COVID, it was free of cost. Now, this past bill we got was for $689, okay? And that's for every month. So for me, that food insecurity is very important. Also, like I said, I'm a farmer. And so with that being said, we have to pour into our small businesses. It's important that we keep our small businesses going. They are the engine to our economic power here in the state of Texas. When we talk about power as well, we have to make sure that our power grid stays on. I don't know about you all, but when it started getting cold, I got a little nervous. I didn't know if my lights were going to stay on. And so I want to make sure that as a state representative, we focus on getting our power grid down onto the national level. We want to make sure that we have a backup, because right now we have an intra-system, so we don't have a backup if our grid goes down. But if we actually connect to the federal system, we will have that particular backup that we would need. Also, you've heard all the other things that the candidates said at the local level. The state needs to hear this and be supporting this as well from this particular seat. So as your candidate, I would definitely make sure that we have focus groups like this so we can actually take this back to the state level to make sure that we're addressing the concerns and the needs of our constituents. So so they can address the needs and concerns of the residents in their areas. So it's very important to me to hear from you, because at the end of the day, as a state representative, I work for you. So thank you. My name is Carlos Walker, and I'm running for State Representative, House District 97. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Walker. Another candidate for Texas House 97, Diane Simons.
Okay, I'm Diane Simons, and well, I'm sort of a comedian as well, but please don't call me a politician. I like to be called an advocate for the people. 97 district is part of Benbrook, Crowley, White Settlement, Southwest Fort Worth, and the TCU area. I've actually lived in every one of those sections of my district. I know the people. I can understand what people go through, even though I may not understand what it's like to go through what you go through. You know, discrimination is huge, and especially in our politics. And when I'm looking at income, we have enough money. So you make enough, and you make enough, and you make enough to be able to support your family. But guess what? 725 is not supporting any family or an individual. My first goal, and I've actually started writing the bill, and I've already talked to 4 House representatives, is about raising that minimum wage, because they've tried, and of course, it doesn't go through. So I'm going to step it up one more, and I'm going to add $1 every year the economy grows, because the economy grows every single year. Because we've got to be able to keep up. And $15 an hour is still not going to keep us out of poverty. It's not going to do it. And inflation's going to go up when we get a raise. So guess what? I'm going to work with the U.S. House and Senate and stay on their butt about giving us another stimulus check to offset that cost. Because during the pandemic, did those checks help you? They helped me. I know what it's like to struggle. Okay? I know how hard it is when you have to sit there. Am I going to take my medicine today, or am I going to have to wait and take another medication for 4 days, and hopefully I don't have a seizure? Okay, that doesn't always work the best, but sometimes you get hungry too. That doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. I have feelings, and I give a lot of my heart every day to anybody and everybody that needs it, because we all bleed red. Small businesses, I know raising the income will hurt you, because I don't want you to go out of business, because you are the heart of our country. I've thought long and hard about it, and I believe that we need to give you a tax break, give you a tax credit to offset that cost of expenses to keep your business running. Education. How many of you would have liked to go to trade school, college, or university but couldn't afford it? Because you know you got a sharp mind. You know it. My deal is I want to offer $8,000 a year to trade school, college, university in the state of Texas, because you deserve it. I want to see how much we can grow in Texas, and we have the ability. Of course, nothing's for free. As a student, I would ask that you do community service every semester. Let's beautify our communities. Let's make them richer, and let people actually learn the different cultures here. They'll appreciate people a lot more. Okay? For the corporations, they want their tax abatements every time. Well, they run out in 10 years, well, so do the jobs, and then we get layoffs. That doesn't help anybody. So my thought process, well, people don't also want to go and spend that money in college, because what's the chances of them having a job with the debt? Let's give them a job. Corporations, if you would like to hire students as an intern, and then once they graduate, hire them full-time, we'll give you a tax break. Because first of all, why are you going to want to leave if you've now trained your employees and they're educated and you can move them up? Why would you want to leave? Wouldn't you like to go to school and have a job doing what your passion is? I'm a photographer. I love it, because I get to look in that lens said, I see the beauty in everything. I want to see y'all grow. And that's what I'm fighting for. And that is why I'm running for Texas House District 97. My name is Diane Simons. Thank you.
We are aware that those who are running for commissioner have somewhere else to be, so we want to field any questions. We have time, you think? Okay. We were just trying to make sure, we're going to let you come. Yeah, you're coming. And then we will go from there, and we will look at the time, and then we will make that decision, because we don't want you to miss out on any questions that there may be in this forum, because you have somewhere else to be. Dr. Mia, come on. Dr. Mia Hall.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Mia Hall, and I am running to be your next Tarrant County Commissioner for Precinct 1. Despite being a lifelong educator of 22 years in the Fort Worth Independent School District, standing before large crowds still not get any easier, so bear with me if I'm a little bit nervous. I am a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a small business owner. My husband and I have operated a business for 17 years, an HVAC business, and is based out of Como. I also am a tenured educator. I always tell the story, and I only have 5 minutes, so watch my time. I started as a substitute teacher while I was in law school. I lost my father 2 weeks before law school to gun violence, and I have to admit I just did not love going to law school anymore. And so I was a substitute teacher at Dunbar High School each Friday, and I fell in love with education and became a teacher. My first teaching assignment, my only teaching assignment, was on the north side of Fort Worth, where I worked in a predominantly Latino community. And I learned about the issues that our Latino brothers and sisters face. Their fear about immigration statuses, their underemployment because of citizenship. I was then promoted to Eastern Hills High School as an assistant principal. We affectionately called it Eastern Thrills, because if you could do it at Eastern Thrills, you could do it anywhere. And at Eastern Hills, I learned about systemic racism. I learned about the underserved. I learned that our school systems and our institutions did not serve us equally or fund us equally on all sides of town in our community. From there, I was promoted to the New Life School, which was located at the Resource Connection, if you remember. And we were there because we were pregnant and parenting teams, and they needed to be close to all of the resources available to them and that they needed in order to be successful. CCMS for childcare. They needed benefits so that they could purchase food. They needed Texas workforce so that they could have employment. And so I learned there about being an advocate. And I learned about the importance of the resources that we have in our community and how many of us rely upon them to eat, to take care of our children, to be housed. And so from there, I went to the Young Women's Leadership Academy. Being the only principal with single gender experience, I threw my name in the hat, and I was able to open the Young Women's Leadership Academy downtown Fort Worth. It started in Fairmont. In that opportunity, in that role, I learned how to coalesce the support of a community. I was selling a vision that no one else could see but me. I had been charged to fulfill that vision. And so I sold that not only to the students, parents, to trust me with their greatest asset, but I also sold that to teachers to come and work for me, and I sold that to the community and business owners and all of these different nonprofit organizations to stand in the gap for our students to ensure that our gyms had every single resource and opportunity that they needed to be successful. We were exemplary in our first year, and we earned a blue ribbon in our 5th year. I'm standing here because I have a proven track record of service. I'm a dedicated volunteer, and I have always volunteered in my community. I'm a Crowley ISD board trustee. We've gone from a C- to a B+ and trending towards an A. I have a desire to serve our community and to represent our interests, to advance healthcare, make sure we have the infrastructure that we need, make sure that we have a housing for everyone, and to make sure that we have the oversight that we need for our jail. I'm standing on my track record. I'm running on my proven record. And I will fight passionately for you, your interests, and my only interests are the interests of Precinct 1. My name is Dr. Mia Hall, and I'm running for Tarrant County Commissioner for Precinct 1, and I would love to have your support and your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. The next candidate is Michael Campbell Constable Precinct 8. Is Mr. Campbell still here? No. Mr. Campbell is no longer with us. The next candidate is Daryl Brewer for Commissioner Precinct 1.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daryl Brewer, and I'm running for Tarrant County Commissioner Precinct 1. And I'm so happy to be here. And let me do this first before I go any further. Let me give honor to God. Let me give honor to the angel of this house and any ministers here who are present. And I am a servant of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I told him that I'm going to say that everywhere I go, I don't care. Okay? So, that out the way, I'm excited. So tell you a little bit more about myself. Graduate of Dunbar High School. Any Wildcats in the house? Got a few. All right. I'm from Stop 6, Texas, via Carver Heights. For you who are around a while, y'all know that's where all the teachers used to be from on the east side. That's where all of them live. So I had the pleasure of growing up in that neighborhood where also most of the politicians who were elected to city council as well as the school board lived as well. So I got to watch that growing up, and I was inspired, and I always felt like at some point I would run for some position. I was educated, as I said, at Dunbar, then I went on to UTA and got a degree in business and communications, which allows me to go on to work for some international businesses, business-to-business sales, as well as to own my own business. Anybody ever heard of the hand car wash on Lancaster? Anybody ever been there? All right, that was my mother used to, I ain't gonna tell you, y'all know how she would do. So I took over running that, and I also opened up a car wash, Magic Car Wash 2 out on 35 across from Miller Brewing Company. So, that's right, that's me. So, so I have business experience. And too many politicians are career politicians. They don't understand what it is to have a balance sheet, to really pay payroll, and if you don't pay it, it's going to have to come out of your pocket, or you're closing up, or turn the lights on and off to pay for that. So they don't have the same perspective. They don't understand how to read a balance sheet. They don't understand return on investment. So when it comes to certain things that they make decisions on, they don't have enough information, or they choose the wrong things to make a decision upon. So when in sales, they taught me how to make presentations. They taught me how to create charts and so forth. So when I come to chamber, I'll be able to put those things up, and we'll be able to look at the right things, and we'll be able to talk about the jail as has been before. But what you may not notice is that when you spend $20 million a year, it's over 20 million, that means you can't hire 30 staffers at over $60,000 a year. You see what I mean? So now you say, well, we're short-staffed. Well, that's because you spent the money over here. And so that's one of the reasons I'm running, is because we have to be more fiscally responsible. And it takes a person who can explain that in such a way that everybody gets it. And one of the reasons that we don't get it is because we don't put enough, I got 2 minutes, all right, thank you, sir. We don't shine the light on. I say, when the lights come on, the roaches start running. So we have to turn the light on. We have to get the media involved. We have to do some press conferences. We can't wait till political season comes to put this information out there, because the jail didn't get overcrowded in 1 year, in 5 days. This been going, we spent 2 years on it, so that's 40 million. So it didn't happen just then. This has been going on for a number of years. That's why we need to change. It's one of the reasons we need to change. And Fort ISD, Dunbar, I love Fort ISD, but let me tell y'all, according to News and World Report, out of 17,000 or so rankings, we 13,000. You know, we can go, okay? So I don't want to hear all of that.
We got work to do. The wealth gap. We all need better housing. Most of us do. We all need more money. She just talked about the resource, Tarrant Workforce Solutions. Is where? Out there near TCC, not in our community, where people can get to access easily. What about trade schools and vocational schools? I know we have Tarrant County College, but it's not right here, exactly. So that means I'm up. 30 seconds, okay. So I'm here to make a change. I love everybody who's been before me. I stand on the shoulders of so many because they took us from where we were to where we are. But we got some other places to go, and we just need to do things a little bit different. I'm Darrell Brewer. I'm running for Tarrant County Commissioner. I'll solicit your vote. You can find me at www.vote4, not from the fifth floor, vote4darrellbrewer.com. Thank you so much.
We thank each candidate. Will you join me in thanking them for their initial comments to us on this evening? We do have some cards coming. We have received one already. I'm going to try to make a good sense of what this is because I don't want to misrepresent what the question is. It was not sent to anyone in particular, but I do believe it was based on the educational discussion that was had early. So the question is, how can publishing individual text material for students, for borrowing privileges for every student under TEA area costs, and when will we publish our text material for students privilege, for student privilege of academia? If I am reading this correctly, it is about the cost of educational material and how can that material be published within so that we can do those things that are needed. Jay Silver, if that's not clear, will you please help me?
Hi there, my name is Jeanette Silver, and I wrote that clever little speech out of inspiration. I grew up in this Fort Worth community, and I think my dad's family did too. I just want to say he worked in Montgomery wards, and every black life in here needs a severe apology for his racist bigotry and his partial membership into what used to be known as KKK. I have to say I cannot put my father's family down long enough, but his father was a rancher, his daughter had a daughter, so on and so forth. My aunt and my uncle raised me on the west side of Fort Worth. I lived in Arlington, Texas. I was educated here, graduated Dallas County 2018 with Associate of Arts. I'm a Maryland College alumni. Would like to go to an alma mater. I have so many alma maters in my family in the state of Texas. And so anyways, I feel like that question, when I hear all the Republican debates about cost and price immigration, student separation and cost of, when I think about public schools and the fact I went to Stripling Middle School, I went to Southwest Middle School, I have a GED. I just want to thank all my educators. There was never one educator that ever complained about how much money they made, what a dollar bill could spend for, or when a kid did not need a book. And I don't want to hear Greg Abbott or any other debate publicly against or for.
Can we please get to the question?
The question is that, can we honestly function that ideology that some of our problems in budgeting and finance and protection of schools, no matter what if it's a church issue with public safety in a school, whether it's the candidacy, whether it's the mental health system, whether it's everything else, can we really think about our answer can be put in a published material, and that is an expense, before we put human life and everything else down. I just wanted to ask that type of program. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone want to fill the answer to that? Thank you.
Hey, I stand up in front of teenagers every day, 30 of them, so I'm really not scared of anything. So I'll be first. There is a division, a governmental entity that does textbook adoptions and things like that. So I know Carlos can speak better than I probably on this, but there is a division that deals with textbook adoption. What I will say, Jen, and it's great to meet you last night and today, thank you for your question, is Greg Abbott held the funding of state public schools hostage to get his voucher program passed. He held 4 special sessions. Okay, the last 2 were primarily about the voucher program. He did not get what he wanted, and therefore the public schools did not get what they needed. Okay, again, I said it earlier, the basic allotment per student is $6,160 in Texas. That has not changed since 2019. It did not change this last legislative session because Greg Abbott held funding for public schools up to get his pet voucher program. And so, but what I know Carlos and Diane and I, all 3 agree that if we got down to Austin, we would be a firm no on these vouchers. But hey, we need help. There's 86 Republicans in the House and 64 Democrats. We got to get closer to 76. I heard earlier at the Texas Women's Club about 3 and 2. There's three Republicans on the Commissioner's Court and 2 Democrats. You got to get to 3 to have the power, right? Okay. So in the House, you've got to get Carlos in, or Diane, or me in to get closer to 76. I said this the other day at Doc's bookstore. I credit to my lovely friend here, Lisa. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. I want to hear everybody say it. How do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. We got 64 Democrats in Austin right now in the House of Representatives. We got to have 65, then 66, then 67, until we get to 76 or closer. Until we get closer, guess what? They don't have to listen. They're just going to do what they want, just like the 3-2 in the Commissioner's Court. So, Jen, thanks for your question, but we've got to get more. We've got to get closer to 76. We've got to get 16 in the Senate before we can start making the changes and funding our public schools the way they need to be funded. Thanks.
Thank you. We'll say for two minutes on the answers to these individual questions.
Also, I'm not going to repeat what he said because he was right on point with what he said. But I also want to dig down just a little deeper into the data part, okay? So we talk about education and we talk about as far as, how our schools are doing or not doing. If you actually start looking into the data of things, one of the things that we noticed as far as when it comes to our students that move around a lot, that their families are not stable, those are our kids that are having the largest issues. Okay, so we have to also talk about our housing, our affordable housing, because we actually did a subset of data. We pulled out what we did as a district. We pulled out the numbers of the students that are mobile, okay, of our district. And we looked at everybody else. And it went up by literally, so if you look at our district numbers, overall, 25% of our kids are actually on grade level, overall, okay? If you pull that out, as far as the kids that are mobile, that move around, it goes up to almost 60%. So that's an issue that we also have to deal with when it comes to our affordable housing here. Right now, we're dealing with an apartment complex that is trying to charge residents for the maintenance issues that go on with their apartment, which is not right. So one of the residents, during this last little storm we had, the heat went out. It cost the apartment told them they had to pay an extra $300 because of that. Okay, so those are things we also have to address. It's a subset of the issues that we have when it comes to our education system as well. So it's all tied together. Our housing affects our education. So I don't want to go too in depth, but we need to address the housing component as well when we're talking about education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We recognize that we have many more questions that are coming in, and is there anyone else who would wish to speak to that last question? Otherwise, we can go on. Have more questions we would like to ask of the House candidates, specifically around the issue of vouchers. Vouchers are being put forward to particularly congregations. We're in the house of worship here, and a person here would like to know what your particular position is on vouchers, and we would like to hear from candidates across the board in both districts. And Ms. Simmons, we'll go with you first. 2 minutes.
Since I didn't speak on the last one, I wanted to rush up here because they like to talk, you know how men are. So, regarding the vouchers though, so I overheard in a one-on-one conversation that somehow I secretly recorded of Governor Abbott lying about vouchers. Okay, and he said that the money was only for 1 year, and the money would go to charter schools. And I said, sir, have you not read your bill? It says private schools. And he goes, and I was with Ms. Opal, okay? And he goes, well, but Ms. Opal, you'll like it because it's going to 1% of low income, people like you. Now, I don't have to say, she held her tongue, and I will because where we're at right now, but I didn't do too well with that, okay? And I go, so how are these 1% of low income people gonna be able to afford the remaining amount of private school? Who's going to provide their lunches that they're getting right now and their breakfast? And how are they going to get there? And in private school, you got to pay for your uniforms if you're going to play. I said, what part is for them? And that's what you want to say? I'm like, something's not right here. It's not right. We can't do the vouchers because it's not for everyone. It's not. And we got to say no, and I will always say no to that. But damn it, I knew it was going to come out. I'm working, we're going to do the university, college, and universities, and now I'm going to be quiet.
She's passionate. These vouchers, it's all about the money, except that money is not going to go to our public schools. It's coming out of our property taxes, and it's going to the state, and it's being held hostage. My district alone, Keller ISD, Fort Worth ISD, Eagle Mountain, Saginaw, and Northwest, per year would lose $76 million per year if these voucher scams are pushed through. I'm running against somebody who is pro-vouchers and pro-MAGA and pro-book banning, pro-family choice, but all they're doing is punishing our students, our teachers, our communities. These vouchers are only going to benefit the rich. It is welfare for the rich, and it's not okay. This is our taxpayer money, and it's allocated for our students. Yes, thank you. So the vouchers are just toxic. There was, I believe, 57 Republicans that were pushing it with Governor Abbott. I'm running against one of them. He's endorsed by Governor Abbott solely for the reason that he was pushing those vouchers. Our superintendent reached out bi-weekly, monthly. He gave us our representatives' names, their phone numbers. He asked all of our communities and our students and families to please reach out to your representative and let them know that these vouchers were going to hurt our public schools. Did my opponent listen? Absolutely not. I am here to support public education, our teachers, our students, and communities. Thank you.
So I think we all feel the same way about vouchers as far as we're all against it. However, I was in a meeting recently, and I also heard that if the vouchers are passed, it's going to be hard for us to actually have bond elections because it's going to be harder for us to actually determine how many students we'll have actually in our districts. So with that being said, that will crush public schools. So we will be basically, we will be putting a death sentence on public schools if we pass the voucher system. So I'm definitely against vouchers.
Yeah, I recently read a Texas Tribune article about vouchers. First of all, there's not going to be any accountability for these schools, right? Okay, so we've got to have certified teachers in the classroom. We've got to also care for every student. That means 504 students. That means special education students. Okay, and then they're going to compare these private schools to public schools and say, hey, public schools, why are you doing all this wrong? It's an apples to oranges comparison. We've got everybody, we take everybody in our school system, we do the best we can, like I said. We take everybody that comes into our school. Private schools don't have to do that. Second, like was alluded to, 75% of parents who are already sending their kids to private school will benefit from this $8,000 credit. So you're basically giving a coupon to affluent families to go to private school for $8,000. In Arizona, it said in this article, 45% of the richest people in Arizona used vouchers. There is no data that shows that it improves performance. In Indiana, in math, it actually fell a bit. In Wisconsin, 41% of the schools who actually started taking vouchers are now closed. Okay, there is one institution that you can rely on to do the best for your kids, and that is the public school system. We're trying as best we can. It's not perfect. We all know that. We can improve it. But public school systems are doing the best we can for your kids, and we're going to continue to do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We have an issue that was not addressed, so we'll fill that with whomever wants to address it. The question is, my greatest concern is gun violence. What measures do you have in place to prevent the high rise of gun violence? Anyone?
Great question. I have a 16-year-old daughter who swims at North Crowley High School. And when the swim meets are over, she's waiting outside for us to get there to pick her up. Or when she's at the natatorium where they're competing, unfortunately, the thought crosses my mind, will somebody go into the natatorium and open fire, and my daughter get killed? What we've done to address gun violence in our community is I was able to get $2 million earmarked from the county to go towards the 1 Second Collaborative. And that is an initiative that directly addresses gun violence. I was able to author that with our city council member, Dr. Jared Williams. And we put money in the hands of grassroots nonprofit organizations who are boots on the ground doing the work. One of them is back there, Melinda Hamilton with Mama. Making sure that families who are impacted by gun violence have the resources that they need. Another one is VIP Fort Worth. They deal with the active shooters. And I want you to ask yourself the question, when was the last time you heard about a youth gun violence incident? In Fort Worth. Not in Fort Worth. That's my time. The point is, you haven't heard a lot of it because the programs that we're funding are working. And on a personal note, as I take my seat, I had to memorialize my cousin who was murdered in Arlington. The 3 people that were murdered, my cousin was one of those individuals murdered. So I understand the devastation and the trauma that comes from gun violence. And we'll continue to do programs like the 1 Second Collaborative until our streets are safe for everyone. Thank you.
Well, it's tough to come behind my friend. We grew up in the same church. But I will say this. We all know about the proliferation of guns. We all know about gangs. One of the things that nobody argues with, if all these folks had enough money, they wouldn't be involved in all these things. I don't care what you look at. Gun violence, I don't care if you look at lack of education, reading on a certain level, all kind of crime, whatever you look at it. Health in 76104,
Guess what? If they had more money, they wouldn't have a problem. I spent several years working with the Black Chambers of Commerce, which is basically a business association. One of the things I keep saying is we have to address the money. And you address the money one way is by putting trade schools that are easily accessible to our community. We talk about unions, right? If you want to be a plumber, an electrician, et cetera, you typically got to go someplace else outside of our community. But if we had it inside our community, guess what? They pay those students to work. They pay them like $20 an hour to get to work. And then they train them on the job as well as they go to school. And it doesn't cost you anything. But we don't have the access here. And as the county commissioner, I promise you, I bring the access here. I love TCC. It has its place. But apprenticeship programs, there's some programs, medical training programs that I'm trying to partner with Forward ISD for after-school programs that won't cost the student anything. This is where you have to address the money. You address the money, a lot of these other things go away. Thank you.
So I want to emphasize the point that Miles made, because he's also my colleague. I think we've all become friends, and a lot of us have worked together in a number of capacities. I chair the Community Investment Cabinet, which is the funding mechanism for the 1 Second Collaborative for the United Way of Tarrant County. I think the issue of gun violence is a multifaceted issue, and it's not singular to any one of our offices. It's an opportunity for synergy, which is evidenced by the 1 Second Collaborative. But also as an educator, what I can speak to is the work that needs to be done in our schools. We need volunteers in our schools, and we need organizations like the ones led by Melinda Hamilton to have a seat at the table. As we're divested as public educators, our institutions, we don't have the extra dollars that we need to have those programs that disrupt violence in our schools, let alone in our streets. And so what I see in my role is being the face of the county and being that person to lobby and organize and coalesce support around issues like that of youth gun violence. And so if given the opportunity to represent you as your commissioner, I would definitely coalesce the support by calling on the city, calling on the county, calling on the state, calling on the community, and making sure that we have the people closest to the work impacting the lives of our youth. Empowerment is what it's about, you guys. Engagement is what it's about. We'll make the decisions that you ask of us to make, but we also need you to work alongside of us. In that role, I will definitely make sure that you're engaged, make sure that you know how to reach out, and make sure that you know how to plug in. Thank you.
This question will also be addressed towards some of the commissioner candidates, and that is, what is going to be your priority for the first 100 days you would be in office if elected? And we can begin with anyone who would wish, but we'd like to hear from all, and again, 2 minutes for this answer.
Okay. I'm not jumping up first because I like to go first, but I have a husband that is going to go to an event without me, so I'm not going to be here much longer because he is not going to be happy about it. He's only going for me. In my first 100 days in the court, I would definitely take the opportunity to meet with everyone, all of the department leaders and all of the department's heads. I know that you said that earlier, Miles, I'm not stealing your answer, but as a principal who has been placed into a school, that's exactly what you do. You make an opportunity to work with the leaders in the organization, and then you create the opportunity for the people and the stakeholders are being served. So I would have various focus groups, whether that be online or whether that be in the community, to make sure that I can hear the voices and hear what the issues are and how they've been addressed, where the holes are, and where the opportunities for growth are. I would also examine the budget and look at how we're spending our money to combat some of those issues. And so you would want to look at the historical data of performance as well. I think the most important part is also building relationships, because anytime you identify problems, you're going to want to put in solutions, and hopefully those are people-driven solutions, but you have to have buy-in. I can't just say this is what we're going to do. You have to bring people along with you in order for those changes to be effective and to take hold. So most importantly, it would be creating the goals as a result of the issues that we hear about. It would be making sure that we're able to hear the voices of the people that I serve. And it'll be making sure that we set up mechanisms to have accountability to make sure that we're having progress towards those goals. Is that my time? Okay, I have 30 seconds. When you do this is 30 seconds? Okay. We've all been stopping, Mr. Williams. So at the end of the day, I'm an educator, and we speak in a lot of, what do we call those things? I'm gonna say continuous cycle of improvement. You always wanna have a continuous cycle of improvement. You wanna set goals for yourself, you wanna measure those goals, you wanna readdress. But the most important part of this that I have learned is going to be engagement. We have got to engage the community. We have got to stay vigilant, and it can't just be during election time. We've got to do this as a community together if we truly want to realize the change we all desperately want and need to see. Thank you.
I'm with my colleague, Dr. Hall. We have the same event that we have to get to. We have spouses that are blowing our phones up as we speak. My first 100 days in office, I would meet with every department head within the county to identify what the areas of concern are, what the issues are, and those areas of success. Because those things that are successful, we want to promote those things, and we want to support them. And then I would meet with the community like I already do. I see Dr. Bell back there in the back. Unity in the community. I'm on every month with Unity in the community, listening to the concerns and the issues that directly impact and affect the residents of Precinct 1 in Tarrant County. But we would have listening sessions, do a tour where we're going to every community within the precinct, hearing their concerns, hearing their issues, hearing what the successes are, the things that they want to see promoted and pushed. We would synthesize that information, and I'm actually doing this now. I am creating a dashboard where we can put that information up once it's synthesized on what the main issues are that you can look at as a resident in real time to track our progress and our success, to hold us accountable to do the things that we have stood up here and said that we were going to do for you. It's not enough to just say it when we're trying to get elected, but we have to be committed and accountable to the things that we said that we were going to do to advocate for you, the people of Precinct 1. I'm not talking about it, I'm actively doing it right now, supporting you. Thank you.
I tell you what, we've been, this group, I can't tell you how many places we've been together. And I said earlier, I think we're stealing some of each other's words. We're borrowing them. And really, iron sharpens iron, okay? So the first 100 days, number one for me is getting that jail situation under control. Anybody want to cut that $20 million? Let's kill that contract, right? There's an opportunity to do that because they're not upholding everything they need to uphold. So that's the number one on my agenda. As part of that, I will tour the jails and make sure I get a good understanding of that. The second thing is galvanize people. That is, I need to meet with as many church leaders, as many nonprofit organizations, invite everyone to a conference, and what we're gonna do, because people say we can't get together and figure out anything, but all we need to do is come up with 5 or 10 priority things that we will do. And then we'll meet on a quarterly basis to implement and handle those priorities, okay? Since I was 20 years old, I used to hear about a black agenda. I hadn't seen it out yet. Black agenda just means the priorities of the black community. Hadn't seen it yet. So that's what leadership will do. People have been talking about it. Politicians have been in office for years and years and years, and nothing has happened. But now, every time it comes time to vote, these things come up again. I will implement it and make sure that happens. The third thing is, I will meet with the staff and let them know what I expect, okay? What I expect, the standard that I expect as as the new county commissioner, as a person who's been in the military, they said, you expect what you inspect. You set the standard operating procedure, and people follow what you have, what you are doing, they follow. Our problem has been in our country, since Martin died and et cetera, is a problem with leadership. Ever since our heads got cut off, we have not made nearly as much progress as when they were alive. So I'm Darrell Brewer, running for Tarrant County Commissioner, Precinct 1. I ask that you will vote for me and give me money, whatever it takes, so that we can win. Thank you very much.
Hello again, my name is Laura Lehman. I'm running for Commissioner Precinct 3. Just like I'm doing now, I am sitting in the court anytime that I can. I plan to continue doing that throughout my candidacy to really learn what's happening. One of the biggest things that really is upsetting to me, which has already been addressed, but I just wanted to bring a little something to highlight. It's a little off topic somewhat, but I wanted to highlight the issue that was mentioned earlier regarding baby Zenora. This was in the Fort Worth Weekly issue, January 24th to 30th, and I just want to bring everybody's attention to it because they have like 6 or 8 pages in here about that particular issue. I find that it is extremely important in the first 100 days to become very educated as much as I can on issues such as the justice system, in particular the sheriff's office, as well as the different agencies and the institutes throughout our county. I don't know everything, but I am definitely willing to learn from especially people who have been working in our county offices for decades, or even less than decades. Every time I've been to the court, I'm very impressed by the number of employees that the county has who have dedicated their lives toward the people that they're serving. So at this point, I am still learning, and I plan to just keep learning. One of the things that also stuck out with me this morning was when Commissioner Simmons mentioned that the infrastructure within the county needs fixing. There should be no difficulty in gathering resources, being able to get those resources, and sharing that with the public. So that for sure is something that is important to me, and absolutely I want to meet as many officials throughout the city, throughout Tarrant County, not just Precinct 3, as much as I can. Thank you so much, Laura, for Tarrant.org.
We thank you, commissioners. We know you're on a tightrope, so you are excused, and we thank you for your presence. Okay. Now, what we'd like to do is ask the sheriff candidates the same question. Okay? Judges will come in a second.
Can I address that last question where you, about gun violence? Just a quick 30 seconds. As the executive board member, first VP of North Texas Crime Prevention Association, where I serve, I'm on my 2nd term, I am in charge of coordinating trainings, and we do offer trainings for active shooter, as well as we do alert trainings for officers as well. Each agency does trainings for the community at large, so you can request those type of trainings, and it's free of service. And I've done that when I was at UTA PD doing trainings. Thank you. Okay, and so to address the question, my first 100 days. So my first 100 days would be prioritizing transparency, building up the legitimacy of the agency, and ensuring trust. That's through community engagement. You have to engage the community. Also, you have to engage those who you're leading.
which is building a rapport and receiving that buy-in from the staff that are there. Once that's settled, then I would actually create a positive organizational culture where it's conducive to ensuring that accountability measures are in place so that people aren't I don't know why I'm tongue twisted right now, but we want to eliminate the misconduct that are happening in the jails. We want to ensure that there's health care provided for those that are needed, especially mental health, which they're not using the diversion program, and so we want to ensure that those are utilized, expanded on the diversion program so that they have treatment and they're not in the jail being punished. Thank you. India Murray for Tarrant County Sheriff.
Hey, Ray Charles dropped this song saying something like Georgia on my mind. When I become the first Democrat qualified, elected countywide in 3 decades, I'm told a Democrat has not been elected countywide, not precinct, countywide since 1988. When this qualified individual walk into the office of the sheriff, January 1, 2025, Laura Lehman just shared with you a picture of Zenora. I will walk in there with Zenora on my mind and the other 60 people who have died. So here's what I do, first 100 days. Day 1, implement what the city of Fort Worth failed to do, following the racist issues of police misconduct in Fort Worth. I would create a citizen review commission. Then I would implement what I call 100P3. That's the first 100 days, a thorough, comprehensive, robust review of every policy, every practice, and every procedure to ensure that we have a renewed public trust, a way of moving this place forward, ensuring that we have accountability, ensuring that there is transparency, and ensuring that people are safe in custody and people are safe on the streets. That's what I do. I'm Patrick Moses. I am the husband of my beautiful bride, Rhonda Moses, and I'm running for sheriff of Tarrant County.
Judges, first 100 days.
All right, y'all hanging in here with us. So again, I'm Marquita Clayton. I go by Mark Clayton. And my first 100 days of taking seat in Criminal District Court 2, I plan to do a very deep review of the docket and prioritizing cases where the accused is sitting in jail. Prioritizing cases that are 3 to 4 years old and ensuring that they are brought to trial within the first 6 months of me being on that bench. That is going to come with project planning and putting attorneys' feet to the fire. What does that mean? It's going to be time out for both state and defense attorneys coming to court, passing cases to the next docket. There will be a finality to every individual's case who is assigned to my court. And so within the first 100 days, inmates who are awaiting trial will be prioritized and either be brought forth for their final trial or ensuring that a finality comes to their case. I also want to take a look at the individuals who are out on bond and ensuring that they're not just lost in the shuffle and just been out on the streets waiting around, again, 3 and 4 years, coming to court month after month after month, taking off from work one day every month to come downtown, pay parking, miss that whole day of work for 5 minutes of your attorney coming in, walking out and saying, come back next month. So we have to get a plan in place to ensure that these cases are moving efficiently and effectively. And that is what I will do once I am elected by you all and all of your people come November 2024. Thank you.
I would show the Commissioners Court what a difference we can make here. We can restore lives, restore families, restore our communities by using best practices to get to the root of the problem: housing, education, healthcare. We do that by doing a comprehensive assessment treatment services on every mentally ill individual that comes into that court. We saved $300,000 with one competency prosecutor doing this over in Dallas County when I was there. I'm the author of Brainstormer, Dealing Effectively with the Mentally Ill and Those with Vulnerable Tendencies, What's Wrong with the Criminal Justice System, and How to Fix It. And that's what I will do. I will fix it. We need to stop feeding the prison industrial complex like we're doing here. Judge Neekum at Commissioner Simmons' town hall just a couple of weeks ago said that the jail diversion center is unused. I will use that jail diversion center. You can put 400 people in there a month. That's how many people we're sending to Garza County. I will fill that jail diversion center up myself if you put me there in office. I'd also like to point out that Marque and I are not running against each other. We're both running for justice and democracy. And that Bjork is here, the person that she's running against took $175,000 for Nazi white supremacists, and the person Lehman's running against took $27,000 from Nazi white supremacists. The Tarrant County Courthouse has been taken over by right-wing extremists. 5% of Democratic voters in Tarrant County don't vote down ballot. That's the most important races that we have because all politics is local. Biden won Tarrant County, Beto won Tarrant County, and we can turn Tarrant County blue. It's already blue, I get corrected on this all the time, but as soon as Tarrant County turns completely blue, Texas turns blue, and when that happens, we're not gonna have another Republican president again for a really long time.
It is 5:55. We do have some just end of the forum things to do. We thank each of you for your questions that may not have gotten addressed. We will share them, and we will make sure that candidates recognize that it is important to you. We do have a question on homelessness and a few other things, but we will make sure that you get what those are so that you will know that they are concerns of the community that you are seeking to serve. We thank you for your presence tonight. Thank you for each person who is here. Thank you, each candidate. Can you join me in thanking each candidate? And we also thank those who have been volunteering all night to make sure that your voice is heard. And we will now turn this over at this point to Mrs. Rutter.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, Reverend Price, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Just very briefly, I would just wish to also thank the candidates and to thank Dr. Edner and to thank the congregation as well, and certainly to thank the NAACP for its work. We know how important this election is, and I'm reminded that Frederick Douglass said that the most important right of all is the right to vote, because it is the right that is the guarantor for all of the other rights, including the right to free exercise of religion. And so we're in the house of the Lord, and we're thankful to be in a place of democracy, and we need to keep it. So let me encourage you, just as a way of reminder, that Tuesday, February 20th is the beginning of early voting. And Election Day is Tuesday, March 5th. And And so if you don't vote before March 5th, it's already late. If you don't vote on March 5th, you're way late. So please go out there and vote.
And thank you so much. Go ahead.
Just one thing. Everyone in this room has a voice. The easiest way for you to speak is at the ballot. You may not have had a question, you may not have the opportunity to have a forum that you can speak in. You may not ever get to say what you want to these candidates one-on-one, but what you can say to this state, to this county, to this city, to everyone who is wanting you to support them, is that what your platform is what I will support, and you do it by voting. You do it by giving yourself the opportunity to do what so many have lost their lives wanting to get done. You have an opportunity to do it, and no one can stop you, at least not yet. Stay awake.
Thank
At
you.
least not yet.
Thank you.
So please exercise your right to vote.
And thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you to the candidates. I can't tell you how much we appreciate you sharing your plan of action if you're elected. And we also want to say that we wouldn't be informed if you didn't come out today. So thank you for informing us so we can make that informed decision that's so important to this election. And I have to say thank you to both of our moderators, to Pastor Edner, for serving as an NAACP member. I have to thank you for that. Also have to thank you for serving as a moderator, and also for allowing us to hold this event here tonight so that we can be informed. Thank you. And Reverend Price, thank you for serving as a moderator and for everything that you do with the Faith and Justice Commission and for hosting this event. I also have two announcements. I'm trying to hurry because I know we said we'd let you go. Two announcements. We have NAACP membership information available here. If you would like to become a member, we would love to have you. We need you. And also, we have a deputy voter registrar here right now who can register you to vote if you aren't registered, or if you know someone who needs to be registered. No, you cannot. It's too late for the primary, to vote in the primary, but it is not too late to vote. We have many elections, including the general election and all the future elections. So if you know anyone, or if you yourself need to register to vote, we do have a deputy registrar here right now. And now I'd like to invite our president of the NAACP, Mrs. Stella Williams, to come and just say a few words.
Certainly, she doesn't realize I don't know how to count a few. So I'm going to be as brief as possible. I want to say good evening to each of you. Certainly, there are so many places you could have been because there's so many things going on in this city. But for those of you who turned aside the things that you could have attended to be with us today, again, we want to say thank you. From the candidates to the participants, thank you, because again, this helps you to become an informed voter. We can't say it enough. We did this quickly, but you know what I can say? There's success that came from it. And success is fear. Success is fear. But I can say to each of you tonight, we have heard the platforms. We've heard the comments that have been made. Use those things when you go to the poll. My voice is my power. Use your power. I tell people this one finger can provide so much. Don't just stop with what it is you've received, but share it with someone else. Take someone else with you. I always say each one reach one. And if each one reach one, think about how a chain is connected. We can do what it is we intend to do. Now, it was said earlier that, again, we are a nonpartisan organization, but we do things because we feel like it's right. We invited Republicans, we invited Democrats. We didn't take the time out to say this one or that one. We wanted you. And for those who showed up, you were the ones that were supposed to be with us. You knew to come today because this was a very important day. The 17th,
gives you a couple of days into, as Reverend Price stated, early voting. This is the doorway. And again, from there, if you don't vote during early voting, the primary election day will be right at the doorstep. And so we ask that you make sure you let somebody else know what it is you've heard. March 5th is the day that everybody who has been registered show up at the poll. As NAACP members, there are several of us that take on the task. Because of our mission, we show up at the polls just to make sure things are going right. You will see us walking. You'll see us going from poll to poll. It's a tireless job, but you know what? We take pride in knowing we want to see everybody who has been given that right to exercise that right. So we want to encourage you to encourage someone else. Again, I want to also say thank you to our presiding MC, our presider, Ms. Nada Roddick, who is an executive board member and also a member of the NAACP. Let's give her a round of applause. With that being said, I'd like to ask those persons who are members of the executive board of the NAACP to please stand or raise your hand so that you can be recognized. If you're a member of the executive team. And also, I want to recognize every person who is in the room who is a member of the NAACP. Raise your hand or stand if you care to do so. Now, if you didn't get to do one of those things, Ms. Roddick has said, we've got membership applications. We need you. There's a scripture that I always quote, the harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. That is a true one, and I believe in it, and I will stand firm with that. That's why I said we need you. We want to thank our moderators. Again, let's give them a round of applause. We have been so blessed and fortunate to have these two individuals stand before us. With that being said, I'd also like to recognize one who I'm working close with because of some situations that we're having in this city with the Fort Worth ISD. Dr. Michael Bell, please raise your hand or stand, whichever you prefer. Thank you. There are other ministers, I'm sure, in the room, and if so, raise your hand. We'd like to recognize you as well. Thank you so much for being present. Again, this event was scheduled for 4 to 6. We didn't start right at 4, which we like to do. So I'm going to say we're not late. I'm not late. So thank you for bearing with us, for carrying on with what it is we set forth to do so. I want to also recognize the fact that, again, we can't say it enough. We are an organization that is about doing things within the community. We are an advocate organization. We're advocates. But what we do, we try to make sure that we're meeting the goals of our mission and our vision. We are not going to be on the lines marching because, again, I tell people for us to go out without the approval of our national office to do certain things, it's like going to a war without a weapon. And I don't want to be caught up with that. So again, we are in your community. We're here to do things and we're here to support things. I've got a couple other announcements. I want to recognize those persons who I called upon to help create and facilitate what we have today. If you are a volunteer working to get this endeavor in place, please raise your hand and stand so that people can see who you are. Thank you so much. Again, this was done in probably a couple of weeks, but thank you for what you did. A couple other announcements I want to mention. There is going to be a community session held at Dunbar High School, March 5th, I think it is. We are asking you to show up because you're needed. They're going to be doing strategic planning development. We need your voice. The children need you. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for the children of the Fort Worth ISD. There is such a magnitude of help that is needed. And I'd like to ask you, it's going to be from 6 to 8 o'clock. So I'd like to ask if you all would meet us at Dunbar High School on that particular day and help raise a voice so that we can make sure that that plan will address the needs of our children. The other item I want to mention is also that we have had to ask people, we heard it tonight, I don't remember who said it, answer the call to civic duty. And that is, when you get that notice in the mail, we want you to come and serve as a juror. Please do do so. Years ago, it was such a thing that, and I'm going to say this quickly and take my seat, but years ago, we tried to find every excuse that we could not to go. But nowadays, they try to find excuses for you not to come. So I would ask you, don't allow somebody to make a decision for you as they tried with me. Make sure you stand firm when it's time to go. If you don't show up, then what you're saying is for somebody else to make a decision for you. Please answer the call for jury service. I can't say it enough. With that being said, again, I want to thank each of you for showing up, for being a part of this. Stay tuned to us. We're on the Facebook. We're on all kinds of social media. Please be attentive to what it is the NAACP is doing. Thanks again for entrusting us to do this event today. Thank you for coming. Thank you all for doing what you've done and continue to be supportive of the things that is a part of our city.
Because this is on social media for Carter Metropolitan, also for Broadway, we want to make sure that you go there and you share. Because there are people who are not here tonight that you know need to hear. So go to either Carter Metropolitan's page or to Broadway's Baptist page and click share. Click share and make sure everyone gets it. Thank you so much.
And Pastor Edner, if you'll just keep that microphone and go ahead and give us our benediction and dismiss us.
Yes, I will stand. I can see how many people are Baptist now. Y'all stood for the benediction. We sit down, but it's okay. We're fine. All right, let us pray. Father, for what we have heard tonight, for the commitment to serve this community, which also means serving this present age, for each who have offered themselves as a calling to fulfill. So we thank you for their service. We thank you for their willingness to serve. We thank you for everyone who is here to hear. For knowledge makes a difference in our lives, and we thank you. We thank you for the leadership of the NAACP. We thank you for the leadership of the Faith and Justice Coalition, even in its embryo stage. We thank you for those who are part of the Carter Metropolitan family, who thought it not too much to give of themselves on a Saturday evening. Now, God, as we prepare to leave this place, we leave it with more knowledge than we came with. We leave it with people on our hearts to pray for. We leave it knowing that we have a responsibility to use the voice you've given us to make a difference in our community. We thank you. We give you praise. We ask right now that you would give us the strength of voice, that you would not allow us to shirk, that you would remind us that you have not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. As we leave, protect us, protect each candidate, for we know we live in some treacherous times, but you are still God. We ask your blessings on each person, each household, each community person, each community of this Tarrant County. And we know, God, that when we give you our best, that you meet us there and you move on our behalf. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name.